joining us. This is our last session for this conference, and if you've been with me a few days or a few sessions, I appreciate it. I bring to you Cedric Smith of St. Petersburg College in Clearwater, Florida. So he's actually truly virtually providing you this information on the online development toolkit. So when you're ready, Cedric, take it away.
All right. I want to start by thanking you all for being here and also congratulating you all on, making it through to the end here. I know when Veronica first mentioned to me about presenting, she gave me a couple of dates, and I think I took a little too long, and then this was the only date left and only time. And when I saw it, I said, man, it's the last day of the conference. No one comes on the last day. So I was like, okay, I got it. So that's how I ended up here today, but I am glad that you all are here and we're able to hang in there to the end of the week. I've been attending some of the other conference sessions, and it's been amazing, really great sessions. 2 of them I went to yesterday I really enjoyed. So I'm going to start off by giving you all a little introduction of who I am. As she mentioned, my name is Cedric Smith. I am a senior instructional technology analyst at St. Petersburg College in Clearwater, Florida. And pretty much what I do, we're currently working on a big project with manufacturing courses. And my job is to look at that content and make sure that if there's anywhere for us to include interactive learning objects and things of that nature to make the course more engaging, makes complex items more simple, complex content. So today, what I'm going to be talking to you about is the online course development and getting started with that. A lot of times you have faculty members who have been placed in a situation where maybe their department says, hey, we want you to teach an online course, or maybe they decide, you know what, that seems interesting, I want to start teaching an online course. But a lot of instructors don't know how to get started. Some colleges have instructional designers, some don't. Sometimes instructors are just on their own. So pretty much what I wanted to do was create a starting point, I guess, or to give people an idea of what to expect when you go into an online course. Whether it's your first time teaching an online course, whether you've been teaching it, maybe there'll be some stuff in here that you haven't seen before. Hopefully you all will find this information in this presentation helpful. I'm going to start off here by going over my objectives for this session here. We're going to identify key components of an online course. We're going to identify resources and tools for course development. We're going to discuss the creation of content, and we're going to discuss course layout and course instruction. Things to consider when you're first starting off with your online course, whether it be your first time teaching an online course or whether you've been teaching and you have a couple of courses. You always want to think about the size of your online course. When I say size, I mean the number of students. Depending on the number of students you have, it will alter the type of assignments and the type of learner engagement you can include in your course. For instance, if you have a very large course, let's say you have a freshman course with 100 students in it, it'll be a lot harder to develop that course with discussions in it. Unless if you have the helps of TAs, of graduate assistants, things of that nature to help you as you develop that course. So that's always something to think about whenever you go into the process of developing a course and putting your content together. The other thing you want to think about is the level of students you're dealing with, whether it's a freshman, whether it's a graduate student. Different levels of student may be able to comprehend the content better than others, and also you want to think about the same thing as far as the type of assignments you can give them. Usually with an undergraduate student, you can include discussions, but it would probably be better to include those type of activities with a graduate student. A lot of times with the graduate students, you have the life experiences maybe at the job or different things like that that they can relate to their the other students in the program in a discussion type format. And I think graduate students are a lot more willing to participate in graduate type discussions, whereas undergraduate, let's say freshman type students look at it like, oh, it's busy work, I don't want to really get in there and do that type of work. So I always think about the level of student that you're dealing with when you're creating your content and different assignments. The skill set of your students. Technology savvy. I mean, you're not going to know that type of stuff unless if maybe these students have been in the program, you know. let's say if you have a course and it's the third or fourth course in this program that you know they're going to have to take. So in that instance, maybe the beginner course or the prerequisite course required them to use a certain type of technology or a certain type of activity that they had to complete. So you will know that they're prepared for whatever type of assignments that you have in your course coming up for them. Available resources. This can be an instructional designer. This can be the type of software that you're going to be using within your course. Anything that you're going to be using to develop your course that either can benefit you or can benefit your students. So that's also something to take into consideration. Something that I think a lot of people don't think about when they go into the process of developing an online course is the time requirement. If you've developed an online course before, if you're teaching online, you may know what I'm talking about, but for those who are new to it, the time required in an online course is probably more than it would be in a face-to-face course. Something that you have to think about is that most of the work in an online course is done up front. So it's going to be done recording lecture videos, preparing assignments. Whereas in a face-to-face course, you can come in and say the night before and throw your lesson plan together, throw assignments together, and come to class and deliver your information to the students. In an online course, typically you will have to have everything done before that first day of class. So that's definitely something that you need to think about and plan for in terms of how far out you want to start building your content and placing your content in the actual shell. Another time requirement that you have to think about is grading assignments and assessments. Depending on the type of assignments and assessments you have in your course, that's going to either increase or decrease your workload. Some instructors say that they have 4 or 5 courses that they're teaching. So in that instance, they may not want to put a lot of reading type activities in their course as far as them reading. Let's say like essay type assignments or research papers. So you have to think about that when you're developing your course. The more assignments that you have that are, let's say, written assignments, the more time that you're going to spend grading those type of activities. Some instructors just put a lot of tests in their course that can grade themselves, and that saves them time. So it depends on how much time you feel that you have to devote to this particular course, the type of assignments you want to put in there when it comes to time requirement. Another thing you want to think about is responding to students. 9 times out of 10, I want to say 10 out of 10, you're going to have to respond to students at some point, whether it be an issue that they're having in a course, whether it be like a technology issue that they're having, whether it be something with an assignment that they don't understand. You're going to have to factor in that time that you're going to have to spend responding to students. Another thing, or the last thing that we want to talk about to consider before you get started, what do you want to carry over from the previous course, if you had a previous course, whether that be a face-to-face course, whether it be an online course. When you're developing or preparing for that next semester, you should evaluate, let's say if you had a course before, you should evaluate, how did this assignment work? Did students like this assignment? Should I add to this assignment? Should I change it? So I always think about what you want to carry over from the previous course, if you have one. These are what I consider the key components to a good online course. Now, it can be a regular online course, but when I say good online course, this is what I expect to see in those courses, or what you should be thinking about. The audience, of course, you're going to have an audience in an online course. That's going to be your students. The students are probably, to me, they're going to be the most important thing. Your job as a faculty member, instructor, is to make sure that those students get the education that they need to go out and succeed, whether it be in the next course, whether it be in their job, whatever it may be, to complete that program. So everything that you do in this course is going to be geared toward that student. So you have to know your students and what their needs are. The facilitator, of course, that would be the instructor. Your job is to deliver that content in a manner in which the students can get it, receive it, and learn it effectively. The curriculum is going to be, of course, your content, whether it come from a book, whether it come from readings that you've done, articles, whatever it may be. Your curriculum for the course that you're going to include. When I say course structure, I'm referring to learning modules, learning units, whatever you may want to call them. In any situation, you should always, or in any course that you're developing, you should always look at your content and figure out how are you going to chunk this content. whether it be by chapter, whether it be by subject matter, whereas multiple chapters, however it may be, your content needs to be structured in a way that it's easy to follow and that it's aligned and makes sense. Learner engagement. Learner engagement refers to as a couple of things. It's student-to-student engagement. It's student-to-instructor engagement. It's student-to-content engagement. All of these things are very important in an online course. Technology refers to anything that you may have in that course to enhance your course. And these days, I mean, every course is going to have technology, and just the fact that they're in an online environment such as Blackboard, you have tools in Blackboard, you have wikis, you have discussion boards, a lot of different tools and technologies that you can use, but I'm also referring to those outside technologies, the Web 2.0 technologies that students can use, whether that be something like a Prezi or other presentation type software. So technology, I feel like if you're teaching in a face-to-face course, you may not have access to these technologies. So if you're in an online course, take advantage of it. Use YouTube videos, use links to articles, use any type of technology that you feel would enhance that course. Now, don't use technology just to be using it, but if you feel that it can enhance that course and help that student learn the material better, I think it's a great benefit by being in an online course to be able to have access to that technology. Student support. That's something some people don't think about. When I say student support, I mean technical support. I mean support with the material in the course, whatever it may be. Let's say a student has an issue with logging into an assignment or a test isn't working correctly. The instructor may not be able to fix that issue. They may go out there and try to figure it out. But if you don't have some type of technical support or support for that student, then it's going to take away from them being able to learn that content. It's something that I found as a student myself. When you have those issues, it's kind of like it deters you from completing or just, it's not good to have issues such as technical issues and things when you're trying to get to an assignment or complete an assignment. And the last thing on this list is accessibility. And of course, you want to be in compliance with your whatever accessibility standards that your college has. You also have the AIM website that you can go out and look at, which has information for assessing or making sure that your course is accessible to all students. And when I say accessible, I mean students who are blind, who are deaf, anybody that may have something that may hinder them in their ability to learn the content. So you always want to make sure that your courses are accessible. Course content creation. And when I talk about course content creation, I'm referring to setting your course up, the things that you need to be thinking about that you can help you. And I put the little man down there with the little jackhammer because this is pretty much the hardest part of this online course development process. Now, with that being said, it's the hardest part. It's probably the most time consuming, but once you finish that, depending on how you did, it should help you and benefit you later on by decreasing your workload. If you spend a lot of time early on creating these lecture videos, or you spend a lot of time early on making sure that your course has detailed instruction, then you're probably not going to get as many phone calls and as many emails from students saying, hey, I don't understand this. I don't know where to go here. So definitely the more work you put in on the front end, the better to be later on. So in this list, we have a course outline, a storyboard. And what I mean there is before you get started, sit down and lay out your course. Say, I know I want to include these chapters in my course. I know I want to cover this content in my course, and write that information out. There are a couple of tools you can use for storyboarding. You can use a mind map as well to create an outline for your course. Break out the different modules for your course. And then break out the different assignments for your course and make sure that everything is aligned and in place and works. You don't want to get into a situation to where you're creating, I guess, content or going too far and not realizing that your content is not aligning. So creating that outline will make sure or will allow you to look at it all in one place and say, okay, everything's aligned, everything I want is in this course, and then you can move forward from there. The syllabus is a very important part of an online course. There are a couple of key things that you need in the syllabus. I happen to have one here to make sure I cover all of these things. You want to have your content, your contact information. in your syllabus to make sure the students know how to get in contact with you. And in that information, you also want to include your feedback time, whether it be a day, whether it be 2 days, how many days, hours that you expect that you'll be able to get back in touch with their students so they'll have that information. You also want to have your course description. You want to have objectives. Now, with your course objectives, they're going to be different than your objectives for your particular module. Your course objectives are going to be more broad, and I would say that your module objectives should fit within your course objectives because they're on a much broader scale. You want to include your required text within your syllabus. System requirements. That's something that a lot of people don't think about, I think, when they create their syllabi, unless maybe they're working with an instructional designer. Your system requirements are going to be like things like Java, Adobe Reader, Microsoft Silverlight, QuickTime, anything that student may need to access the different activities or different assignments in your course. Another thing that you're going to have to put in there is your grading scale for the course. List out all of your different activities that are going to be graded and how they'll be graded within that course. And then the different types of activities that you're going to have with a short description. Whether it be quizzes, whether it be discussions, research papers, anything of that nature. Any of your, I can't even think of the word I'm trying to say, policies for your college, whether that be discrimination policies, whether it be plagiarism policies, any of that information needs to be in your syllabi so students will have it. And something that we used to always include in our syllabi when I worked at the University of Alabama was netiquette. A lot of people don't think about that. And netiquette is pretty much your online etiquette, how you're going to conduct yourself in a discussion room or just in the course in general, making sure that you have respect for others as you go about the course and completing your assignments. I see that there are some questions over here. It says storyboard.
No, what I'm doing is in the notes part, that's going to get emailed to the participants, and that's just some running resources that they'll have. So your questions will be under the questions heading.
Okay. Okay, it says, speak to your experience with taking online courses and what made a course good and bad. Okay. I can definitely speak to that. I said in the presentation yesterday that Cindy did, it was a great presentation, by the way. If you all didn't see it, go back and look at it when Veronica posted. It was talking about engagement and the instructor presence in the course, the pedagogy of instructor presence. And one of the biggest issues I have or problems with online courses is that the instructor is not present and that maybe the course does not have enough instruction in it. One of the most important things to me that I found as an instructional designer is making sure that you have detailed instructions in your course, enough instructions in your course, and also the instructor present. Those are two of the most important things to me. By not having detailed instruction in your course, you run into the issue where students may get discouraged, or they may, I'm not going to say a lot of students, some students have issues already with or don't feel comfortable in an online course. And when they run into problems in that online course, whether it be technical issues, whether it be instruction issues, whatever it may be, they get even more discouraged or they feel more lost. And then that's when they have to come to you and send emails and call you and say, I don't understand this. So the more instruction you can put in there and the more that you're available, the more comfortable the student will feel, and I think the better experience they'll have in that online course. So I think those two things would speak to the bad side of an online course. The good online courses would be those courses where the instructor is always available. Now, I don't mean that you're going to call them at 3 or 4 in the morning, but I mean, if you send them an email during the day, 9 times out of 10, they'll probably get back to you that same day. If you have an issue in the course, I have a question about the course. Also, courses that have lectures, recorded lectures in the course. That allows students to go back. If they didn't understand something, they can go back and watch the video over and over, find the information that they needed. So that's also something that's very important in an online course. So I guess those would be some of the things. Another thing that's very bad that somebody mentioned, I don't know if it was Cindy or Tasha, somebody mentioned about instructors uploading content from the past semester or not making sure that the stuff was updated before students actually get in the course. That's a no-no. And that's happened to me a couple of times. And it is kind of frustrating as a student when you log into a course and it's like, hold on, this says 2009. You know, it's like, that's not right. The instructor isn't even paying attention to their course, so why should I pay attention to it? So definitely you want to make sure that all of your stuff is up to date. Sorry if I took too long on that. Let me go to the next one. We'll have another question. Do you have favorite software to use when recording lectures? Yes, I would say Camtasia. And I don't know if that's because I used it a lot, but I've used other softwares, and from what I've seen, Camtasia seems to be the easiest, most user-friendly. You can edit your videos pretty easily. So I would definitely say Camtasia. And it allows you, I mean, if you have never used it, you can download a trial version of it. The regular version range anywhere from like $99, I think, if you're on a Mac, to about $300. I'm not sure. But I would say Camtasia. As far as free software, and I'm going to mention this later on as well, different softwares and things of that nature. But I know, I think Tasha yesterday mentioned the Screencast-O-Matic. So that's another one. I mean, there are so many out there, but for me, Camtasia, definitely. Okay, I'm going to move on, make sure I covered everything. No, I didn't cover everything. I covered the syllabus. Course schedule. The course schedule, to me, is the second most important thing in the course. Maybe the most important to a student. Students want to know, what do I need to turn in, and when is it due? That's the main thing they want to know. So I feel like the course schedule is one of the key components of an online course, at least for students. That's the information that they really want to know. And also, speaking of a course schedule, I want to talk about dates. Whenever I develop a course, I always make sure that my dates are only in one place. Students can only see those dates in one place. I took a course recently, I kid you not, this instructor had dates in 3 different places. They were in the course schedule, they were in the syllabus, and they were in the modules, and all of them were different. So definitely let your course schedule be the main area where you have your dates. I know it was mentioned yesterday that some people put their course schedule in their syllabus. That's fine if you want to do it that way, but make sure you have your dates only in one place when you're building an online course. Modules and units. Modules are units. That's pretty much what I referred to earlier about chunking your content, making sure that it's divided in such a way that students can easily follow the content and that it's aligned to what you're trying to relate to the students. Assessments. Assessments can be anything from an activity that you have them complete, go out and review, go out and look at something, or interact with something, come back, write a paper on it. It could be a test that's in the course. It could be them creating a video. It could be anything that's going to assess their knowledge of the content that has been covered. And learning objects. Learning objects are very important. I'm not going to go into detail right now because I have a whole little section on learning objects. I mean, not learning objects. I'm thinking learning objectives. Learning objects are different. Learning objects are going to be items that you create to engage students. For us, as instructional designers, a lot of us use stuff like Articulate Storyline. We use Adobe Captivate to create interactive learning objects. And also, I'm going to talk later on about different places where you can go and download different learning objects to put in your course for students. So we'll cover that a little later on. Well, actually, we'll cover it now. So this next slide here is talking about open educational resources. Has anyone ever heard of these? So we got a lot of people in the room. Pretty sure somebody's heard of them. Okay, we got a couple of people. Okay, so pretty much what these open educational resources are places where people have uploaded content that they've created for their courses. So you have instructors at other universities maybe that have created content. You have regular people maybe that went out and created content to help them learn information. But either way, what it is a place where you can go and pull content from to enhance your course. You can also go there just to view stuff that other people have done. So let's say if you're trying to get an idea for a certain assignment that you want to include in your course, or you have some content and you can't think of how can I relay this to students. Access one of these sites. Go out there and type in a little search bar, whether it be a science course, biology, math, whatever it may be. One of these sites is going to have something that can help you come up with some ideas, or come up with an item that you can download and put into your course. I was going to click on these, but I don't think we should go through them. Veronica, what do you think? You think I should click on one of these and see what we can find?
Just for the sake of time and our technical difficulties this morning, I'll keep up with.
Yeah, we have had some of those. Okay, so just at your leisure, go back and click on some of these and see what's out there. It's some very helpful information. Other resources that you may want to look at when you're thinking about developing an online course. The Quality Matters rubric has been discussed, I believe, a couple of times in this conference. And to me, I think this is the most well-known document to review a course, to make sure it has all the quality components that an online course should have. The link there takes you to where the document is. I don't know if you'll be able to access it. I know about a month or two ago, I was able to just click on that link and it opened up the document and I downloaded it. But yesterday when I tried to click on it, it asked me to put in a username and password. So I'm not sure if it's still available for anyone to just go click on. But that's definitely a document that you can get your hands on it to take a look at. You have the University of Tennessee.
What probably happened is they will allow you a single user download. And after that, if you do that from the same computer, it won't let you.
Right. Okay, that's probably what it was. That's probably what it was. So definitely go out there and check out the Quality Matters rubric. It'll give you an idea as you're building your content or building your course. Do I have these certain things in there, or am I missing these things? And it'll help kind of guide you along the way. Other resources. The University of Tennessee has an online instructor toolkit. With a lot of resources that can help you out. E-learning industry's course design checklist. Veronica actually showed me this, so she probably has already shared it in some of the other sessions. But pretty much it has a long list of items that you should include in your online course. So any of those resources should help you and be able to guide you. Okay, let's get to the fun stuff. Learning objectives. Okay, so I think a lot of instructors have issues when it comes to creating measurable learning objectives. So I took a lot of time on the learning objectives here. When you're thinking about learning objectives, actually, let's just talk about what they are. What are learning objectives? Learning objectives is a statement that describes an observable event indicating that the learner has mastered the targeted knowledge or skill. It must specify exactly what the behavior you want, the behavior you will see that provides a reasonable basis for concluding that knowledge has been achieved. So pretty much the learning objective is going to be what you want students to get from that particular module or that particular content that you're relaying to them. You want to make sure that these objectives are measurable. That's going to determine if they do understand what you have presented to them. There are 3 parts to a learning objective. A lot of times you only see the one part, which would be the behavior, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there are 3 parts to it. So you're going to have the behavior, which the behavior is going to describe what the participants will be able to do as they complete the different readings or whatever you have them going through in the module. The condition describes the condition under which the student will perform the behavior. And then you have the criteria, which describe the criteria in which you want to evaluate the student's performance. And if you see down here at the bottom, I have an example. And a lot of you probably don't know what this is. It's dealing with some of the content I'm working on right now. And this particular information is related to hydraulic systems. And students would have to use it says using Pascal's law, students will calculate the amount of pressure needed to lift the car using the minimum amount of force. So pretty much the condition is that they're going to have to use Pascal's law. This could say you're going to have to use a certain type of rubric. You're going to have to use a calculator. It could say anything, but that would be the condition. The behavior would be actually what they're doing. This also can be called performance. So what they're going to actually be doing. So it said the students will calculate the amount of pressure needed to lift the car. The key thing in that is the action verb, calculate. So you always want to have that action verb in your behavior, and we'll discuss that on the next slide, I believe. And the last part is the criteria. It says using the minimum force. So you may be able to lift the car using a higher force, but it wants you to lift it using the minimum force. So that would be your criteria for that particular objective. Some people get goals and objectives mixed up. So I want to kind of differentiate between the two. So goals are going to be broad statements that provide general and lofty learning outcomes. And objectives are going to be very specific, short-term, measurable, and observable. And if you notice of my examples up here for the goals, you'll see students will understand the complex causes of leading up to the Civil War. You see that word understand? That's a word that we stay away from when we're creating learning objectives, because you can't measure if a student understands. You have to, when you create your learning objective, you want to make sure that they're measurable. If you look at the examples down here for the actual objectives, it says students will describe, students will discuss. All of those things are measurable, because whenever they complete those different activities, you will be able to look at it and gauge whether they did understand that material or whether they're knowledgeable about it. So that's definitely something that you want to think about when you are creating your objectives. Now, this is something interesting to me that I just found out, and it was very, I guess, interesting because I didn't know. So Bloom's taxonomy is pretty much what we use when we're creating our learning objectives. And I recently found out that there's another Bloom's taxonomy, or a revised version, which I probably should have known this, but it goes back to the whole thing about things are always changing, especially in the field of instructional design, whether it be a technology, whether it be a type of way to learn, whatever it may be. Things are always changing in the world of education, in the world of technology. So you always have to stay up to date on these things. So with the revised version that I found, if you look at the very bottom layer on here, remembering. So that's going to be the simplest form of our level of learning when we're talking about these objectives. So you'll see things like define, describe, identify. These are very low-level items. And the further up you go, you'll see that it's going to require more from the student. So let's say we get to analyzing. So students are going to have to compare items. Students are going to have to contrast, differentiate. So they're going to have to really know that information to be able to complete those particular assignments. Whereas the bottom down here, we're remembering, I can look at something that morning and go into the class and take a test and pass it. So depending on the level of activity or the level of assessment that you want to conduct in your course, these are the different verbs that you would use in your learning objectives as you create your course. And you all can come back and look at that. Assessments. Assessments in your course are going to measure those learning objectives. These are some types of assessments that you can include in your course. You have tests, you have discussions, videos, written assignments. And I'm sure you all know how tests can be used. And I see tests as being on that lower level, because a lot of tests that you get, they're going to be multiple choice. Some tests will have essay questions, and that may get you up to that next level. But I see those as more of the lower level type activities. When you get into discussions, depending on what type of discussion you have, if they're open-ended, depending on the questions you ask and how much you require from your students, is going to determine the level of knowledge that they're going to have to display in those different activities. I would say written assignments would probably be getting toward that higher level. And these can be research papers, essays, anything where that student is going to have to really dig deep and think about what they've learned, or go and do research and read articles, read books, and then relay that information in a written assignment. The next thing I want to talk about is developing an assessment plan. And this here is an example of an assessment plan. So when you're thinking about creating an assessment, you want to think about your goals. What is your overall goal for this particular activity or particular assignment? Then you want to create your learning objectives. Now that makes it or identifies the specific thing that you want students to be able to demonstrate, or that you want students to show from going through this different assignment or activity. Assessment methods, that goes back to what we were just talking about. Do you want it to be a test? Do you want it to be a video that they have to create? Whatever type of method that you want to use for that assessment. The performance criteria, also what we talked about before. This can be whether they have to be in a certain type of setting when they do something, or it can be a multiple amount of things that they can do for the performance criteria. So I'm trying to think of something. I'm kind of losing my thought here. Instruction revision. So the instruction revision will pretty much be, once you have, let's say you went through that semester and you say, okay, students have trouble with this particular assignment or this particular assessment. Your revision is going to be, how would you fix that to make sure the students gained that information or learned it better the next semester, or didn't have trouble with that particular assignment the following semester. So that's something you always want to think about in your assessment planning. Do I have questions over here? Are these questions?
No, so far you've got them all. If I put another one, it'll start at number 3.
Okay, that'll work. Okay, course navigation and instruction. Okay, when you're setting up your course, you want to make sure that you keep your navigation simple. What I mean is, don't have students have to click 5 times to get to an area in your course. You want to try to keep it as minimal as you can as far as clicking in the course. You want to make sure that you include titles and maybe numbering in your activities and assignments in the course. Provide guidance. This can be a welcome video that you put in the course, and maybe include a tutorial of how to navigate the course. You can also create a written instructions on how students can navigate through the course. So course navigation is a big part as well, as far as making sure the students stay on track. If it's hard to navigate through a course, I've taken a course recently actually that a lot of assignments I had trouble finding because how they were placed in the course. The instructor had some of the information was in the course schedule, some of it was in the module, but the content in those 2 areas didn't match. So you always want to make sure that your navigation is easy to follow and students can find the assignments that they need. Make sure the content is organized and aligned. What I'm talking about here is if you have a module or a unit and you're discussing a certain area or a specific content, make sure that information stays within that module, and make sure that all of your assignments within that module align to that content. Also, we can talk about making sure that your assignments build up in the course. This isn't something you have to do, but I think it helps when you have a course that has assignment that maybe start at a lower level, but as students go through the course, it builds up to a higher level type of assignment. But you always want to make sure that your content is aligned. And that also goes back to the learning objectives as well. Make sure that if you have an objective in your module or in your unit, that at some point that objective is being measured. If it's not, then you probably want to move that or remove that objective from that particular module. Make sure your content is up to date, what I mentioned earlier. Before you start an online course or start a semester, make sure you go through and make sure that all the dates are current, whether it be in the course schedule, whether it be in the assignments area. Make sure that all of your dates are correct and current to where students won't run into any issues. What I talked about earlier, the assignment instructions should be detailed. Your instructions should be as detailed as possible to where you feel like the students shouldn't have to ask you anything. Rubrics help. A lot of instructors that I've spoken to don't like rubrics for whatever reason. They feel, I know what it was. Some of them say that it feels like it guides the student too much, and they want the student to think on their own and figure out how they would best complete the assignment. So I would say it's up to you as an instructor how you feel about rubrics. I like rubrics. I think it makes the instruction more detailed. But let's say if you don't have a rubric, let's say you have a written assignment, you want to make sure you include how long that assignment needs to be, what format, whether it be APA format, the spacing, any information that you can give that student will help them as they go through trying to complete that assignment. I took a course recently where every assignment, it was like 2 sentences and that was your assignment. And every student would always say, okay, well, how do you want this? Do you want it in this format? Should it be 2 pages? Should it be 3 pages? So to cut down on confusion from students, try to include as much instruction or detailed instruction as you can in your online course. This was something that Cindy went over a lot. Her whole presentation was pretty much about instructor presence, which I feel is very important. And I covered this earlier about being available. How much you're available, that's up to you. I feel that at least every day out of the week, you should be available. That's just my opinion. I don't know if there are any guidelines of how long you should be available in your online course, but I think at least during the week, you should be available every week. If a student emails you, whether it be that you need a day to get back in touch with them, whatever it may be, I think that you should be available to that student so it doesn't hinder their learning in the course and moving forward to the next assignment. Creating lecture videos. I think creating lecture videos is very beneficial to students, and it kind of goes back to the whole thing of when I talk to instructors and they want to start with an online course, I say try to make it as much like, not as much like your face-to-face, but make sure that it includes everything that your face-to-face course would include plus some. So you don't want to feel like students are getting cheated when they take an online course. By putting these recorded lecture videos in your course, I feel like you keep that aspect of your course that you have in a face-to-face if you conduct lectures or whatever it may be, but they also get the benefit of being able to go back and rewind or go back and look at the content from before. So that's something you also want to include in your courses if you have the time. Interject in discussions when needed. Some instructors don't like getting involved in the discussion. They feel like, oh, students should be out there and they should be able to do what they need to do, and I just go in and check it. What I mean by interject, if you see that a discussion is going the wrong way, so let's say students are putting information in there that is incorrect. As an instructor, you should go in and make sure that students are on the right path. If students have questions, make sure that they're going in the right direction, and getting the information that they need to be successful. And provide feedback. When I talk about providing feedback, I'm talking about with assignments. Not all students look at the feedback, but for the ones who do, it's very beneficial to get that feedback as they move forward in the course. Whether it be good feedback, whether it be bad feedback, whatever it may be, students really appreciate getting that feedback, and it makes them know that you're there and that you're paying attention to the work that they're doing. So instructor feedback is also very important. Learner engagement. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the flipped classroom by now. It's a phenomenon, I guess you want to call it, that's going on right now, where the concept is pretty much flipping the roles, I guess, of the instructor and student, to where the student watches videos or whatever it may be at home, and then in the class session, they will have to actually interact, whether it be presenting, whether it be doing activities in the classroom, assignments. And I think it's a great idea, depending on how that instructor conducts their flipped classroom. Because I've seen some that I felt like maybe they were putting too much work on the student, but it just depends. That's something you definitely want to research before you try to take on the whole flipped classroom idea. I think it helps with student engagement. A lot of the classes I've seen, they do a lot of group activities, group assignments with the flipped classroom, so I think it'd be very beneficial. Which leads into my next item, which is group assignments. I think group assignments are great when it comes to learner engagement. You get to learn your classmates, whereas seeing that you're in an online course, you may not get to talk to them as much, or you don't get to see them, you know, because they're in an online format. By having these group assignments, it allows them to interact with other students. It also helps with the workload on the instructor. So that's something to think about as well. You don't have to grade as many assignments. Pull from students' experiences. I think this would come from the discussion board. So when you ask these open-ended questions in the class, give students an opportunity to maybe relay some information that they've experienced, some way that they can benefit another student that maybe have not went through the experiences that they have. So try to pull from students' experience in the different assignments and different learner engagement activities that you have. Open-ended question in the discussion board, what I just mentioned. Interactive learning objects, something I talked about earlier. This speaks to the student to content interaction. So this can be something like a crossword puzzle that you put in the course. This could be an activity. I've seen math courses who have these activities where the student will have to drag, let's say they have to drag parentheses and put them in the right places. So any type of learning object that you can place in that course to engage a learner, or take content that's complex and make it more, make it more understandable to students. And of course, what everyone wants to get to, the tools. And what I did here is I just went and found tools that I've used in the past. I will say this, something to always think about. When we're talking about tools, new tools are created every day. So the tools that you may have used last year or 2 years ago, they may have come out with something that's 10 times better than that. So tools are something that you definitely want to try to stay up to date on. This is something that an instructional designer can help you with. If you're not a person who's always out there, try to talk to someone. If you're not a person who's, I guess, always on blogs and different things and checking different sites, try to stay in contact with the person who is, that can help you and ask them questions. They may have new tools. What I do is whenever I go to a conference or whenever I speak to people, I go into my little area on the top of my browser in the tools area and I save it. So any tool I see, I go up there and I save it. So I have a long list of tools that I can pull from it at any point. So definitely think about doing that. So what I have here is tools to help you with your rubrics. Rubricsstar is a great tool to pull from to get ideas for creating rubrics. It also lets you build your rubrics. Both of these do, Rubricsstar and Rubric Library. For presentations, of course, everyone's heard of Prezi. Powtoon is a new one. Well, it's not new, but some people may not have heard of it. Very, very fun tool to use. Most people that I talk to say they're addicted to it. Dippity is a timeline tool. I put it on the presentation tools because think about maybe in a history course. Your instructor says, I want you to go back to this particular date and time and do a report or do a presentation on what happened during this particular time in history. And Dippity would allow you to create that timeline. The storyboarding activity, that can be used for students or instructors. For an instructor, they can use it as they're developing their course. For a student, they can use it if they have a particular assignment where the teacher wants them to work on a storyboard for a particular assignment. And I found that to be the main tool that people use for storyboarding. Collaboration tool. I find Google Drive or G+ to be one of the best tools to use because a lot of people have Google accounts already. Some people are already using Google+, and it's very easy to use. It allows people to access it at the same time, whether it be a Word document or a spreadsheet. Multiple people can work on it at the same time and share information. Wiki Spaces, if you all don't know what a wiki is, Wikipedia. Anybody can go out there and add information, take information away. So that's another tool. If students are working in a group assignment and maybe have a report that they have to do, the wiki will allow them to go in there and add their information as they work on it and see what the other students are adding as well, to where they can create one document that multiple people are working on. Video recording, we talked about this earlier, Screencast-O-Matic, which is a free tool that you can record. I think it's about 5 minutes that you can record, 3 to 5 minutes, somewhere in that range. So it's a short video that you can record with that for free. YouTube is one that I don't think a lot of people think about, but YouTube is a video recording tool that you can use for free. and then, of course, Camtasia, which we spoke about earlier. I believe Camtasia allows you to download a 30-day trial. So if you just want to try it out and maybe see if your department will pay for it later. But Camtasia is definitely a great recording tool. Now, I put iPhone and iPad apps on here. I didn't list anything under it. But what I'm referring to is I found myself downloading apps that maybe I hear about at the conference. And I figure out ways later on of how I can implement those different apps in my course. So maybe I had an app that I had one app, it was like a sketch type app, to where if you put a picture in there, you can go and play around with the settings and change the outcome of the picture. Now, you don't have to be a graphic designer to do that, you know. So downloading these different apps and utilizing them, it may allow you to create interactive content in your course, depending on the different app that you use. So that's something to be thinking about as you go to conferences or as you hear about new apps. Think about, how can I use these different apps in my course? How can I use this to create content or engage students? So definitely it's something that a lot of people don't think about. But sometimes those apps have multiple purposes, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Website builders. Wix is the main one that I would suggest. It's a free website builder, very easy to use, but it allows you to create I don't know how to say this, really professional looking websites. But like I said, it's free, it's very easy to use. I've used it for creating portfolios for job interviews and all kind of things. Instructors can use it for creating portfolios for a course or for a program. So definitely Wix can be used in the educational setting. Different mind mapping tools. This can be used for instructors to, as they prepare for their course, to create a framework for their course. To get everything out there and see it all in one place. It could also be used for students as they brainstorm, whether it be for a research paper or for a different assignment. Students can use these mind mapping tools. As you can see, 2 of them have a free trial, so those you do have to pay for, but the top one is free. With the one that you have to pay for, I believe you get I think you get to create 3 of them before they start charging you. So if you do have an assignment where students have to use it, they can go out there and create 1 or 3 of them. And get the assignment done. Video conferencing. I've just learned about this tool called Zoom, and it is amazing. If you do any type of video conferencing with Skype and things like that, definitely check out Zoom. I don't know if there's an amount of how many people can be on there at one time sharing videos, but I think we had like 5 people on there the last time I used it. So Zoom, Skype, those are definitely great video conferencing tools that you can use in your course. Veronica, this is the video that I want to show you all really quick. And I don't know, you may have questions after you see the video, but I just thought it was an amazing video that pretty much speaks to everything that I'm trying to say in this presentation and things that you should think about before you go into teaching an online course.
And when so you're done with the PowerPoint part, right? Okay.
The only other slide is questions.
So I'm going to stop sharing since they have access to the PowerPoint and show your video, and then we'll come back for questions.
Okay.
Oops. Okay. Hold on.
High touch is more important than high tech. When a student is in crisis or a student wants to brainstorm an idea, and when they need a question answered, I want to be efficient. And one of the best ways of doing that is using the telephone. And so that's a real high touch way that has been really effective for me. And I had really avoided it for a long time because I thought, no, that's really not the technology of online education. But everything is the technology of online education.
Establish social presence using digital storytelling. When you start in a face-to-face classroom, when that professor comes in, you're looking at their clothes, the way they act, the jokes, the stories, all these things. They size up who they are, right? So for me, one of the things I leveraged or I relied on was the power of storytelling. And so the power of storytelling, telling stories is a great way to establish your presence and to help students get to know each other as real people.
Use technology intentionally. I think we get so excited, I know I do, about new tools and new digital communities and the social media tools and technologies that we can use to really enhance what we're trying to achieve with students in our courses. But we sometimes let the tool sort of drive our decision making as opposed to going back to our learning objectives and saying, what do we really want to achieve? Does the tool help us achieve that? Just because we get really excited.
The power of external resources. There's tons of resources out there that if you just take the time to look, it's amazing what you can use to supplement your online courses. And so you don't have to do all the work yourself. It doesn't always have to be contained in the LMS or in the textbook. And hopefully through that also help encourage and teach your students that there's great resources out there if you just spend the time.
Make your expectations explicit. Being explicit in your directions, in your expectations, in everything that you are trying to achieve with students. That so often we keep that secret, we keep that hidden as faculty. We know what it is. Sometimes we don't even know that we're keeping it hidden.
Make it really easy for students to find out what is it they have to do that week, when is it due, what are the points, what's it worth, those types of things.
Fun and playfulness and the unexpected. Doing something that's different can really jolt them and re-energize them and re-engage them in a way that allows them to express themselves creatively. So that it's not just writing an essay, but let's write a screenplay that demonstrates your understanding of these concepts. So anything that adds a little playfulness, I think just re-engages people and makes the online experience not feel so cookie cutter.
You have to log in regularly. You probably should plan at least 5 days a week to be logging in your course. And that doesn't mean you have to log in, all day, 5 days a week, right? Sometimes people, I think, misconstrue that and will say things like, well, online learning is just so much more work than face-to-face. I don't necessarily buy that, but it's very distributed. The faculty that I know that are the most successful, in my own experience, has been they log in regularly to their courses. The power of personal feedback. One of the things that I find that students really value and that they take away from is when they get specific individual feedback that's meaningful. And by not just giving feedback, but giving audio-video feedback, I've had students come back to me and really comment on how it was very meaningful to hear that even the inflection in my voice, and that they could actually walk away with the positive comments. Whereas a lot of times when you just type stuff out, they just the negative just kind of comes through, right?
Okay. So, like I said, when I saw that video, I promise it encompassed everything that I was thinking about for this particular course. And I guess it's the thing that people don't think about when they first go into the realm of teaching online, because you're not going to know if you've never taught online. You're not going to know the pitfalls or the things that you need to look out for. So going to things like this conference, watching videos like that can help you to maybe avoid problems or issues that you may run into when teaching online courses. I'm trying to remember, it was one of the things he said in there that I wanted to try to touch on. I can't remember what it was. Let me go over here. Veronica said, answer question number 3. Let's see. Okay, it says, what are the implications of instructors creating websites on their own? Are there liability implications? Now, when you say websites, are we talking about online courses?
That message is coming from Kay Lawrence, and she's typing.
Okay. Websites related to the course, really. I mean, when we're talking about courses, I would definitely say you would benefit from working with an instructional designer or somebody who does this on a regular basis. just because we refer to instructors as content experts because they know the content. They've been looking at that stuff for years. They know everything about it. And in the same token, that's what an instructional designer is. That's all they do. They look at this stuff all day. They know all the tools. And even if it's not an instructional designer, just a technology person at your college that maybe deals with this type of information, because they're going to know this stuff very quickly. And if you ask them, they can just spew it out. You know, different activities you can include, different type of learning objects you can include. So I think it would be beneficial. Do you have to use an instructional designer or technology person? No, you don't have to. But I would definitely say do your research, talk to other people who teach online, and try to make sure you can I guess, create the best course for your particular students. As far as just creating a website related to the course, or courses in general, I don't see any problem with it at all. I can't speak, I guess, from a legal standpoint or anything like that. I've seen instructors who have linked information to their courses. It was not always the greatest, but it got across what they were trying to relate to students. So as far as it being a liability, I can't say for sure. I would say that maybe if, let's say, if someone came in to review these courses, SACS or somebody, I don't know, they may have an issue with it. So I can't say for sure, to be honest. So I don't want to speak too much on as far as it being a liability. But I have seen instructors who have websites that link out from their course that has extra information or things that are beneficial to students. So I think that's all I can say about that particular issue. Okay,
it looks like she's. Oh yes it will.
So basically. Oh yes. Definitely. Yeah. Okay, I didn't know she was referring to copyright information. Yes, copyright is always going to matter, whether it's an online course, whether it's a personal website, whatever it may be. So definitely that's something to think about. A lot of times with these online courses, though, no one ever looks at them but the instructor. So a lot of people maybe that would know that, okay, you can't do that or you can't have certain things in there. People would never know because they don't see those courses. Only the instructor sees them. So like I said, I would just try to do as much homework as I could or talk to people who do this stuff on a regular basis to see what type of insight they can give you, what type of help they can give you as far as moving forward or providing information to your students.
Okay. Cedric, thank you so much. I know you don't use Twitter much, but your Twitter handle is off the chain today. So you want to take a look at that. This session is going to be recorded and shared next week. I don't mean to rush off with without having additional questions, but I've got to set up for the reception that starts in a few minutes. So again, thanks all for attending. The resources will be shared next week. An email will come out when that's ready. And Cedric, thanks again. This was great.